I want to create some kind of book app. Means till now we have created web applications. Now I want to create a REST API. Means web applications we can do. It is more now going further into the web app side and the backend side. Till now you have created the HTML and all these things. But in REST API means like we just create a RESTful API with a response which is typically in JSON, or you can go in XML also. But mostly REST APIs will have JSON as the output. This output will be taken by the front-end frameworks to showcase in whatever the way they want. Let's say front-end, you are seeing a table. This table, how the data comes? Like this REST APIs only. So, or you see a mobile. So in a mobile app is there. In that mobile app, you are seeing something. How we are getting the data? Again, the same thing. So we have a JSON data which is coming in the backend. Means majority of the things that you are seeing in these days, everything are having the REST APIs in the backend. So the REST APIs are very much important. Till now, we have seen how to consume a REST API using URL module or using request module. Now, if you want to do the same thing here, how it works? For you to get some idea, so how a typical book will be there. So let me give a sample data. Say some sample data I'm taking. So this is my books actually. So we need to have a structure for each of the book. I am saying like the book should be having an ID, title, year, and like that. So it means like this is second book. So one book I wrote like clearly, so another book like this, just to show. Means each book, when you're adding, we need to have all this information. Of course, this data will not store in memory like in a dictionary or a list. When you have more data, we need to store in a file system. If it is file system is not that fast, then we need to go for a database. So even database is not good, then we need to go for a cache, etc. But to start somewhere, I am just starting with a small list. In the list, each one is containing a dictionary. Did you observe? It's easy, right? And each one is having a key value such that when you create also, we need to do in this way. When you consume also in the same way. For that, I told there were CRUD operations. Means like get, put, post, and delete. So what are these operations doing? Means primarily, either when you want to create a record, as of now, you are just seeing everything here. But in real time, you store in a DB only. So in a DB, you create a record, or you update a record, or remove a record. Like that, all these things will happen. Those are called as CRUD operations, means create, read, update, and delete. For that, a specific HTTP methods are associated. Means if you want to retrieve a data, so there is a read or a get data. And if you want to add something, that you have create like that. Okay, to start with, you have some dummy, so some basic data. With this, we can start. Every time when you're creating a endpoints, what is the process? We need to define the functions called as create. So like this, we need to create, right? Till now, we know that in a Flask application, every time when you create, in function-based views, we create a functions, and on the top, we write like app.route, right? App.route. In the app.route, we mention actually, say any endpoint. Right now, I want to work on a books. I will say like a book or books, I write. So I just want to work on creating. So that's why here I wrote create. This is my function name, and I have a route. So here it is saying book. When you want to create, I told one thing that we need to use which operation? Post operation. So till now you didn't write these methods, but now I am writing these methods. I am specifying that I want it to be used only for the post. So instead of writing 2-3 functions in a single function, I am trying to divide. For each of the CRUD operation, I want to do separately. So this is for like create. So similarly, after creating, so we need to do append, get, all those things, CRUD operations. One after the other I will do. First, if I need to do a create, so what I need to do? I need to have some record, and that record I need to add. Means I am following one structure, right? I need to add a new record also like that. So I create a new record. which is having like this structure, whatever the structure I have, and that structure I try to append it to the existing things. At this moment, we have a global value, which is a list. I just append it. So this books dot append of this new book. Maybe like instead of new record, I am say new book. New book. Book. And within that book, I need to have the same template, right? So whatever you add, it should be like a similar template. Okay. Now the ID should be a sequence, means the existing value plus one. So that's what we need to have. So instead of writing directly, I'm doing like this. You see, observe what I'm trying to say. In the books, what is the last value? For the last value, what is the ID? For that, I am incrementing by 1. Such that instead of 1, 2, 3, I am writing, because here 1 and 2 are there. If I need to write here, I need to write 3. So what if next time user is creating? It should be 4, 5, like that, right? So that's why intelligently I'm writing like this. What are the existing value there? For that, it will add. And I'm adding some title. So, okay, I have some data. I need to get the data from it. So if these are like a static data, but when you do in a request, we get the data from the request itself. From that request also we can do. Means at this moment I am doing statistically, but in future there is something called as a request actually. From Flask we have a request which we are taking. I will tell you what is that. From this request object we can get some data, we can do it. For time being, I am doing like a static data. So as it is, I'm appending. So after you create whatever would happen, we need to give a response. Till now, we are giving HTML response. So that's why you're doing make HTML or make response, or you are giving like a direct string like that you're giving. But here we need to write this new book. In the new book, we have written, and you remember, every time a status will come. Whenever you are returning, I am returning this. So you see, comma 201 means what? It is optional, but if you write, it would be better. 201 means it is like created. So if you see the statuses every time, you will understand. The statuses I told right earlier, that like HTTP statuses. So whenever you are working, so that's what we need to every time remember. Yes, web services. Yeah, you see the HTTP statuses. 201 means what? Created. So once you do a CRUD operation, it will create the things, right? That's what we need to be aware. Next, coming back here, after this creation. So then how do you create the record, right? I will do all operations and then do one after the other enhancement. So create is for like creating a record. Then we need to read also the things, right? What are you have created? So for reading the things, we can ask like, hey, first I will facilitate this one. So app.run, I will execute it. You see now, for this application, do we have any virtual environment created? We didn't have. So we have a virtual environment which was created in the earlier classes. So did we create in any other places? Maybe some other place we created, but we don't have any virtual environment till now. But if you want to create, you can create one. So there are multiple ways of creating virtual environment, I told. So instead of the .env, so the other way of doing is like pip-env, which I told for the past 2 classes. So Python -m pip install. So pip-env, if you do, it will install that. So the if it is there. -u means like if it is already installed, hey, update it. If it is not installed, so install it like that. So it was everything already installed for me. Now what else I can do? I based on these things I want to create. So let me go to this directory where I want to do. Say I want to go here exactly. In the ls, you see that there is only one app. Now pip-env. So install. If you just do, it will create it. So it is saying like pip-env not installed. If it can prepend with python-m, then it will create a virtual environment for me in the background. So then you will see two files were created, cc pip file and pip log file. And you want like the pip-env. So pip-env shell. As it is in the current directory, it can go python-m. If any time anything it is saying like that not known, then you can prepend with a python-m. It will go inside it. So then like pip-env install Flask. So if inside the virtual environment you don't have pip install, right? So that's why there will be pip install pip-env. It may be think like something difficult, but it's not that difficult. So just imagine like you are in a box. First you are creating a box. For creating the box also you need a virtual environment pip-env. After creating the box you are inside it. To work with it also there should be pip-env, right? Just imagine the same analogy. So that's the reason you need to install inside the thing. That is like a one-time job. After creating, subsequently you can just do a pip-env shell wherever you are there. Go to that file system, do that for the first time. If it is not there, it will install. If it is there, it will just activate it. That's it. So I remember giving the steps also to you. So how do you create them and other process? And then here, after creating this application, yes, I think here I gave the examples also. pip-env install and pip-env shell for running the commands. So after that, after installing, now we can start it. In due course, like it is taking some moment, we can complete this application. You see, I did a create application, right? Create means it will create a record. In the same fashion, when you want to update the record, get the records, we need to get the records, right? So now, if you want to get all the records, so there are two things. Get means like get all or get specific, right? Specific record. There are two types. If I want to do first the get all records, so I can say like, so get books I do, or get all books, whatever you say. So for that, I get all the JSONify of the entire books. And we need to have a endpoint for it. I can see like app.route of, again the slash. This time I'm doing like this. Again the slam books. Did you see? The endpoint is same for both the things. The method is different. Did you observe? Based upon the method, I'm getting it. If I see, I think I should. Yeah. If I want to get the all books, I do like this. JSONify of the books means what are the list of dictionaries I have. I just do JSONify, means creates a JSON and gets the values. So that's how it works. Now, similarly, if you want to get a specific book, so we should give a book ID. Based upon that, you will get it. So get one specific one means like get specific book. If you want to get the specific book, so simple. So whatever the book that you are passing, you should say like app.route. Within that again, so we can give the same logic in terms of the books / books only. See, every time. The most common problem people do is like sometimes they read book, sometimes they read books. So if you are writing whatever, it should be the same for all. Here also I'm doing books only. But how different is sir means, if you want to get a specific book and I need to pass an integer. If you see, for every book we have an ID, right? ID is a unique integer. In this entire record, ID is something which is unique. So for every record, there won't be a difference. Means you should ensure that the schema is such a way that this ID will not be repeated. So there can be title which can be repeated, author which can be repeated, year which can be repeated. So we should have some unique things. If you maintain like that, you can maintain all records. So we should give that unique ID. As that ID is like a integer, and we should give like this braces. As it is an integer, I write like int, and after that I write the book ID or whatever the name you pass. And whatever you pass here, the same thing you need to pass here also. This is more important. Till now, for this function, you didn't pass any input because you don't have any query parameter. So for others also, here also there is no query parameter. So, or like no path parameter, sorry, no path parameter. So here only there is a path parameter. We call it as a path parameter. You remember, in the path itself, you are passing a parameter. That's why it's called as a path parameter. If you want to specify a specific book, I want to get all the records with this book. Did you see that it is not a dictionary to directly get the value? So I need to loop over each of the record and check if the ID is equal to something and get it, right? So no. So don't you think like I need to just loop over it? So for I need to get a specific book, right? The specific book. Specific book, if I want. How I get it? So I need to loop over it. Say book for book in books. So what are the books I have? If I can minimize these two, you will understand. So I have these books, right? For book in books. So what I need to check, if each book of the ID should be equal to this book ID is equal to book ID. So we know there will be only one book with this way, but in this way we should go. Either you do in a for loop in a separately, or you do directly like this. So in this case, two things can happen. So sometimes the ID that you mention may not be there because it is like 1, 2 is there. What if you give a 3 or 5? It may not be there, right? If the book is not there, obviously the specific books, what are you saying, will be a list of empty list, right? So means like if is equal to 0, length of it is 0, then like what you want to do? You want to say like, hey, there is nothing. I don't have any values. See, every time when I'm returning, it's a best practice to send the response. And I'm doing a 404. 404 means, see here, every time. 404 means what? Not found. I didn't find anything. So that's the reason I am doing. See, every time when you're giving a response, I am passing the extra, HTTP status code also. It is not mandatory, but if you pass, it would be good. If it is present so, then I want to get that specific book. So then if it is there, then it will not go there. And we can come here, return. So JSONify of that specific book of 0. So now we see here, I did a create book and like getting one specific book, getting like specific one book in that. Then the last one is like update. So if you want to update an existing book, means the book should be first present and we need to do. So define, say update book. I want to update. So when you want to update a book, again the logic is same. App.route of, again the same slash book only. And here also when you are updating also, we should give the same ID, because on which ID you want to do, which book you want to update, right? We should give that ID. So here also the book ID. So observe the difference here and here. Here, as you are mentioning, we should mention the method is equal to like a get. Here also the same thing we do here also, but you see under the books only we also do here, but here it is called as update, right? You remember this one very much, very carefully. It is called as put. So put is for like updating an existing record. So create is for like creating a new record, like that. So this is like for create. You see all CRUD operations I am doing one after the other. And as you know, as you are passing in the path parameter, whatever you pass, you need to pass in the function also. After that, within this, so we need to again check for that specific book. If it is not found, here also the same logic. So whatever the logic you wrote here, the same thing will come here also. Because if that book is not there, what will you do? Or if that specific book is there, I want to change the things. So means like there is something called as a request. Okay, every time when you get the request, you get the request object. From that request, we should get all these values. So from that, I can get like for the specific book, all these values. So the title, author, and all these things user will pass. So from that, I get all the information and I return the end result. So what are the result, JSONify of the specific book of 0. If I pass, I get like this. And lastly, if you want to delete this record, so that's a last operation, delete. So delete means also same thing. We need to have app. So integer should be the book ID only, but here the method. And if you want to delete a record, again the same logic. We need to identify, means finding the book is same. See, for the last 3 operations, every time the basic things are same. And after that only we are doing it. Okay. Yeah, see here. I can specify the message stating that, so book successfully deleted. Hope you now understood what I'm trying to say. So if it is not there, see the last 3 operations like put operation. So getting a specific record or put operation or delete operation. For all these things, they should do on a specific value. If it is not there, that's why 404 comes every time. If it is there, then the operation happens. So it will get means just retrieve that value. If it is present, it will update that specific value. And if it is like that, it will delete the specific value. And you get a message that, hey, so result equal to true or like message equal to something. So like that, you can specify. So, and at the same time, I want to mention one more thing here. When you're creating also, you are giving constants. Instead of giving constants, you need to understand that when the request is coming, in the request itself, we will give all the values. So that also I will show you shortly. So first we are there. We are in the current directory. I think like our app is there. Yeah. So Python app.py. So there it is saying no module named. So pip env install Flask something I wrote. Then pipenv will install Flask. So the beauty is like if you do pipenv install, it will update in the packages. So that's subsequent. If you want to do anything, it will help us. So once it was done, then after that we can do. Yeah, it was done. Now CLS and Python app.py. What is saying? Hey, you did all correctly, but there is some issue here. What is saying? We did line 41. What is line 41? What is the issue? Can you recognize what is the issue? Unexpected methods. Okay, methods it is. Yeah. Pardon? Unexpected keyword method it told. I wrote methods only. Where did it find method again? Okay, here. Okay, I am doing the same. Okay. As we copy pasted every time, we did the same message. So now it is fine. So unlike the previous case, where we are going to the console to see all the outputs. So can we see here in the output? Means like, let me show you that. In the browser is not suitable for everything. So this is not a web application to see everything in the browser. If I see in the browser, you can see that it is saying nothing. And even if I say like /books, you see what? Only the get call is working automatically. If you see in the backend, in the logs, you can understand that first time it did a hit like this. Next time / right? After the 125 and so, you did it just /. So it is saying 404, means that resource is not there. Because we have CRUD operation, 4 functions are there, which has the endpoints. Nothing has like a just /. So that's why it said 404. That endpoint is not there. But if you did a /books in the browser, You got 200, means it is correct. And what you got, it is executing your get call. So by default, this get all call is executing. Or if I go for a specific things also, get call only will execute. See, at this moment, I already created 2 records, right? In the initially, I can now go for a specific record like first record or second record. Let me show you that. If I go back, yeah, if I go back, I got both the records, right? Now in the next tab, I go and ask for a specific record. If I see here, /1, you see now, I got /1 means a specific record. Or if I go to /2, instead of 1, I go /2, I got a specific record. And similarly, if I go for the next tab and ask for /3, which is not there, I got like book not found. So book not found. Did I write this message called as book not found? Let's see in that thing. You see here. So whenever user is coming with a specific error, what I'm trying to say, if the length is 0, I'm saying like error book not found. And I'm giving a 404 error. So that's the reason what are the JSON message I passed, I'm getting the same. And you got the right. But okay, sir, get is happening. Single books, all books, like this we are getting. Can we do a post request here? No. If you need to create a post request, we need to have a browser where it to have a form and everything. So that is the concept of a website. But in the backend, how do you do? For that, we need to have something called as a postman. So postman is one thing. If you install, so you can get it. A typical postman, we can go and download. It will download it. And I already have postman. Oh, thank God. So postman is there. It's easy. It's a free application. I think with Google itself, we can do everything and you can work on it. I already have Postman installed. Now with Postman, we can do other methods also. Reason I am telling again. So why we go for Postman or any other tools? Because we can do only the get calls here. We cannot do post, put all those calls here. For that, either some way someone should implement in the UI browser, or like we need to have a some other Postman or some other tools like a Swagger, etc. So for that, let me go for some new tool like this. So I have this is all my collection. I am doing some things there. I just want to minimize it if possible. Yeah, fine. You see here, the same thing. Whatever I do here, I am asking get for a specific record. You see, it is saying like book 3 is not found. And if I say like book 1, did you see I got all the records? And if I say like just books also, you can see that if I go for just book, I am not writing anything, just books I wrote. Did you see I got the response, which is like this? So like this, get is there, get a specific record is there. Based upon the response you are getting. You see each time the response, how much time it took, what is the size and everything. And it is the postman will give you the entire analysis, like where it is working, how much time. And not only that, in postman we can write the test cases also for this, how things are working. If it is taking any parameters, authorization, all of information we can pass. So we created one application right now. Now sir, I want to do a create a record. Create a record means we need to do a post request, right? If I do a post request, it is saying what? Hey, so whenever you're doing a post request, what should be the endpoints we have? If you see here, so when you're doing a post means like creating a record, same like /books only. So, but like what are the record you have, you need to pass. So let me go there and do it. Okay. If I do a /books only, I remove the slash, and if I execute it, did you see that it is saying like book so and so? What is this, sir? Create means it should create, right? Then why I'm getting this record? Hope you remember. So whatever you take, it should take it. But why you are getting every time the same value means, did you remember when you created a record, every time you are doing what? We are appending this value, right? The new ID. But like you are taking the same values, like title, grade gap, say so and so. That's the reason, if you can observe, every time the ID is changing, but other values are the same. So after doing this much, if I go back to the previous one and ask, hey, give me all the records. Did you see how many records were created? So the last 3 records which we gave were like this. Sir, why, sir, this author and others are constant? Because it's not taking from what you gave, but it's like a constant, it's happening. But if you want to take the values, of course, that is the correct way of doing. So for that, we use the request only. So the request will have all these values. Means whenever you need not pass any object here, there is something called as a request we need to import. This is not request, not plural, request. And we need to take whatever you have. So instead of these values, you pass like this. Now request.json of title, request.json of so-and-so. If that value is not there, then also it will throw an error. If it is there, then it will be good. Now going back to our this thing. Now coming to your post request, I mentioned here the post, right? Post. And I'm coming here, and if I execute here post, did you see what happened? It is saying that, hey, 400 bad request. Bad request means you didn't give the request properly. Means when you're giving the request itself, you need to pass these values. You didn't pass. So then how do you do? In the body, request body, I need to pass. In the request body also, there are multiple things. If let's say in a raw text or a JSON, if I mention, I need to pass the values. So it don't know what is the books and others. I need to give some specific ID. Even if I don't give, because ID anyhow, user should not take. You cannot take like what will be the unique ID of the table. You just give you your titles. Say like some title I give, and author is like, maybe I will write my name, or sometime I write the year. So 2023, we created a new Python book, assume. And this is how a typical JSON will be there. I wrote. And hope you know, a JSON will take all the values in double quotes. We should not give in a single quotes here. So in Python, it can take single or double quotes, but JSON is like a JavaScript object. So it will work like this. If I execute right now, it is saying author is like this, ID is 3, and like title and so and so. Sir, why ID became 3 right now? Earlier we have 4, right? 4, 5 and others. Because, hope you remember, whenever the problem happened, we actually modified the code. The moment we modified the code, did you see that server was restarted? The server was restarted, that's why this data is going away. So we are storing in memory, right? The moment the application is reloaded, the entire things will go. That's the reason to have some persistence, we need to store the things in a file. Before storing in a file, let me do a couple of operations here, then go to the file. You see here, now again, I'm passing the same data. So there are no validations that, for the same title and author should not come again. There is no such validation. That's the reason you can see like, so the same thing, 4 you got. And if I say like, say multi-threading in Python, something I wrote, maybe like a Prakash or someone guy wrote. So you can see another book came. Now, if I see the get calls, you can see all the get values are there. Fine, all records are there. No, sir, we need get to do. So this post is also there. Now I want to update a specific record. Say like I want to update this 4th record to be precise. Then how do I update? So for updating an existing record, we need to go for something called as put. For put, again, I wrote the same logic. So I told the URL is same. You need to go to the URL, books only. And we need to specify a record, right? I want to update on a 3rd record, I want to update. So when I want to update, I gave, what is saying? Bad request. Means, so in a put call, apart from giving the ID, you need to pass the request body also. In the request body, if I go for raw and if I say like JSON, so then I need to pass that body. Say if I go to the get call, I think like the 3rd record I want to update, right? I take this 3rd record. Whatever I want to update, I need to specify that. See, ID is nothing we cannot update. So within that, say the title, instead of a title, I want to say like, Flask based, so web development. So earlier the third record is like Uday, some title, right? And 2023. I want to say like this was done in 2021. Okay, I want to do these changes. See, for a put call, I modified to put, and I gave the record and I gave the object. Now you see here, it updated and you got the record. Now the third record is having the title separate, different, and the year is different. Now again, if I do for the get call of all the records, you see earlier the third title
coming back. You should. You see here. So we now updated that record. So if you see the third record right now, it was updated to Flask so and so. So this is how we work on a put. And the last one we have is the delete. For delete also in the same fashion we need to go. So when you go for the delete record also, the same thing. First, let me go for a delete record. Delete record don't require any of the body, because do you think like delete need a body? It just need to get it. Get a specific ID also don't need a body. So delete also don't need a body. Hey, first time I am going for a ID which is not there. Let's say 6 I give. So as 6 is not there, you are getting error, book not found. Who wrote this message? I only wrote in the code. If you see in the delete, I wrote first, it will search with that ID. As it is not there, I am doing like this. And I am passing a 404. And if it is there, it will delete it. Now, before even deleting, let me go for the get once again. In the get, if I go somewhere to the fourth record, I want to delete this fourth record. Now go to the delete and ask for the fourth record. If I execute, you can notice that it is doing. So book successfully deleted, means fourth record was deleted. If I execute again to the get, did you see 4 is not there anymore? Now in the get is by a specific ID we have, right? There I will give with the 1, 4, okay? If I ask 4 is not there, right? Earlier you got it, but now it's not there. So like that it will work. This is a typical CRUD operation. But the only problem here is that persistence. So from now you will hear this term called as persistence. Means how much time the data will be there. The once you stop the service or once you restart the application, whatever you store in memory will go away. So that is a problem here. Then how to address this solution? We need to place in a file. Now I will do the same book application in a slight different way. So if I go further, say F book app, book API, I do. So in the same book API, again I will do app.py. And here, this time I will store, I need to store all the records, right? So earlier, the same application, whatever you have, I will take. Here also I'll place. For the betterment of time, I'm not, recreating again a virtual environment and doing. I'm just re-navigating as it is. But here, what I want to do is that we have the data like this. What is the best place to store this data? So what is the best file type? Can I store in a text file? It's not good, right? If you store in a text file, you need to analyze. Then what is the best way to store? So not any YAML. So JSON is the best way. So we should store the data in a so and so. So if I say data.json and I want to store as it is, can I store the data as it is? No, let me do like this and see how it works. So what it is saying, hey, you are doing a commas at the end. This is not recommended because in a JSON when you are storing, the last one should not have a comma. And in Python we call this a dictionary. In JSON it is like this object, but they have some rules. In Python we can have a single quotes. There we should not have single quotes. Everything should be double quotes. And also in Python we have like ordinary, like a true, right? True means like TRUE, but the T should be starting with a small letter in the JSON. There were some differences like this. Slowly when you are using, you will understand it. It's not a big deal. Now, I don't want to get this data anymore from it. So I will comment it. But how I get the data? So initially I need to get the data, right? So for that, what I need to do? I need to get the data from the file. So with open of, what is the file? Say instead of data, I would say like books, because that will make more easy, right? So books.json. So I will say like books.json. If you write do in a write mode, then everything is gone. If you do in a append mode, so append mode as a file handler, and you need to open the data. So after this, we need to read the data. So books is equal to, so JSON. We need to import the module called as JSON. Import JSON module. So if you want to load from it, load from a file handler. So we are loading from a file handler. The books, we get it now. So for that, if you want to add, you can append. But these books are ready now. Now for that books, they will add everything. Or if you want to add or do operations, you can do. Now, if the user want to do any operation, read and all the operations should be done from a file instead of from a directly. Now we see here where all things I need to change. User has created a book right now, and he is need to read the existing books, and he need to append to it. Means instead of making it as a global, what I need to do? So whatever I am doing like a reference I am doing there, but here I need to do, I need to open the existing books, okay, and I need to append this book to that book, okay. So yeah, books are there, right? So books dot append of this content, and again I need to write it, right? So some way I need to do that operation, appending to the JSON directly, like a file system. How I need to do? That's what I need to see. I have a record. Whatever the data is there, by default, it will be like this. But now you need to understand the JSON structure. One point, you have data like this now. What are the data you are getting? I want to do. First, for you to understand a bit, let me comment these lines for a moment. For you to understand like how this data is there. Okay. So first you will get some understanding about this ones, right? Yeah. I will try to print this book. I need to go to this directory, one level above, F books, and here cls and python app.py. So it should read all the books and it should print it. What it is saying? Hey, you did it in append mode. Means like it is trying to read. What is saying? Uninterrupted, not readable. It is saying JSON.load of file handler you are doing. Can we read a file directly like this? JSON.load of file.
We have to parse the data first.
Exactly. Yeah, file handler JSON.load as load of file handler only I'm doing. Yeah, data dot. Okay, if you wanna write is okay, but like I am reading right now. Book equal to JSON.read. It is trying to read. Line 6, it is having an issue. So if I do like a B, means like first I'm doing a read, sorry. Read, if I do, yes. Yeah, that's the problem. I did in a write, right? Or else you do in a R plus, it's easy. But so because I did an append mode, that's why problem came. If you remember like the hybrid versions like R plus, append plus, all those things, then it will work.
So append is for only write, right?
Yes, but append is for writing at the end. Write is for writing from the starting.
Okay.
So if I do like now in this case, what I need to do? If I need to write the data, again I need to take and dump the data. Now you understood these two concepts clearly. First thing I will go, and we can go one after the other. So coming back to the first one. So we have one new book which was there. We need to open. How we want to write? Write means append, right? Okay, this one clearly we did. How we need to write when you are writing? JSON.dump. Instead of load, we have like JSON.dump. JSON.dump of same file handler to that file, sorry, data. What are the data books are there that I need to dump to the file handler. But before that, what I need to do? This one extra job. What are the book is there? I need to read that books and I need to append it. So every time I need to do two operations. I need to read and write data and append data also. So to do these things much easily, I can write this function separately. You know, get books and write books, right? If I do get books like this, books.json.read, it will read the books and I get the books. I can return the books, return books. And I'm not doing any operation. So just I will do like this. Hope it's fine. I wrote a function for books, get books. Okay. And similarly, so write a book. So if you want to write a book, then like, so it's easy, right? So it will just get the books and do it. Did I do any mistake here? Indentation. Okay, yeah. Did I do any mistake here?
Written should be.
Okay. JSON dot, okay, data we need to say JSON dot data is equal to, yeah, books. Yeah, return books. Yeah. Still it is coming like error. Oh, inconsistent tabs it is. Oh, crazy man. So I don't know what. If I say get books every time instead of I doing specifically, it will just do like a read and get the data to me. That's easy. So with open of so and so, I read the books and I'm returning the books. Okay. So this is a good function. So every time I get the books, it's equal to get books of, just that's it. I read the book, and for that book I am appending the existing books, and I want to write to a book. So this is what I am doing. Is it clear now? It's fine, right? So you got one functionality. And similarly, when you're reading the books, how do you read the books? Same logic. You do this get books function and just do it. Now, did you see, apart from your main API functions, you have some other functions also, right? Like utilities. So instead of writing in the main code, you can create a new file called as utils.py, and you can write your function, whatever this extra function is there in that utils. So utils.py, and you can import it. Import JSON, and instead of writing in the main function, I can just do like this. From, so utils, right? Utils import get books. Is it clear? Excuse me, I'm getting some noise. Yeah. Yes, like this we do. And here, now we understood again, revisiting, I got the book and I'm reading a book and I'm appending to the book and I'm writing to the books. So when you want to write, writing is like only once, right? That's why I didn't write a function for it. But if you want to write, you can write for that also. When I'm reading, I'm doing like this. And if I want to read a specific book, how do you do? Please help me. So here also same thing, right? Whenever you are reading, every time you need this book. So like this I'm doing. I'm reading the book and I'm checking all the conditions. If it is there, it will do it. So reading means it will not update, right? So I don't have any problem. Then coming to the case of update, this is something interesting. So in update also, how do you get the books? You need to get the books directly like this. Okay. So after getting the books, you read everything, and if it's not there, fine. And if it has a books, finally we need to write. Means here also we need to write. So what are the books you have that you're gonna append or update the book? So and do it. So when you are trying to update the specific books, we need to go to here and update it. How do you update the book? You have like 5 books right now. So you have a book specific ID and you are trying to update that. Then how do you do?
By
Yes,
looking,
yes, please.
find the ID and then
Yes. So now interesting part comes here is that do you recognize each of the object with an ID? Because it's not like a dictionary, right? So in top it is like a where it is within a list. Within a list, each one is a separate object, right? So each object has an ID. And obviously, again, I need to go to each of the object and check for that ID and do it. I cannot just do like, first object, second object, because when someone is reading, another one will write. So these things will happen. So update is like bit tricky in this case. So you got a specific book with this ID and you are updating it, right? Again, uh, we need to update also should happen on the same book to that ID. Means in that ID, so if let's say there are 10 books, we are looping all of them and you are trying to get the book with an ID called as 3. For that book, we are updating it, specific book. So this book again should be updated on that same thing. Means we should go and get the ID of it also, right? So where this particular object is there, for that we need to update this value. So means like what are the updates you have done? Instead of a write mode, I need to do the append mode, or like, yeah. Am I doing correctly? I'm dumping to this. What are the books are there? I need to do in a write mode because like, I'm not updating. So the entire books I'm taking and I'm updating with the new values. So getting these books and updating with the new values. Okay. Whenever, so maybe like you can get even the ID also whenever you're looping for that particular ID, I can do it. Means like instead of directly doing like this, I can do it.
if
So for book in books, for I will do a enumerate index comma book in enumerate of books. If I do like this, I will get the index also, right? If the book ID is so and so, I will update these values. Then I will get the specific book. So if the book card is so and so, I get the specific book and I get the record also. So specific book is equal to, instead of like this, now what I'll do, I'll make it empty. Specific book is equal to, instead of a specific book, I do like, like this, a record ID, book ID, I will say. Book ID is equal to none. Okay. So this time, so if the value is there, then book ID will be that index. Book ID is equal to that index. So now instead of checking like this, I can check like, hey, if book ID, what are I'm checking? Book ID is none, then I can do like this. It's not there. If the book ID is present, in that books, I will go to that ID. In the books, I will go to that ID. Book ID is like book ID. And for that, in that book ID, I want to do it. do the change. So you see now what I'm doing. So for that book ID, I'm doing the change. So for that book ID, I'm doing the change. And specifically, finally, I'm doing that, returning that book ID. Hope it's clear now what I'm doing. Why I need to do this much extra task? Because I'm not a database. It's a file, right? I'm doing. And also two things here you need to observe. Here I'm doing a write operation because the existing value should be removed and new things to be added, right? Because that's the most important thing. And similarly, when you delete also, how you do? In the delete case also, you need to do in the same way. I think like I can give that as an assignment. Just give it a try on your own. Again, getting the book as it is. So you need to go to the specific book. So maybe like, so you need to get the specific book for different things. For the records, just to get the specific book, fine. For delete also, same thing, right? So for update also, we need to get the specific ID and we need to do like this. In the same fashion, for delete also, you need to do in the same way. I think like you can give a try, but like it will work. So I mark it like the book ID is equal to 0. Okay. Oh, I'm using the same word, right? Okay, we need to use some other words. Maybe like, book index I will use. Book index. That's the best way. If I use book index, then it's easy, right? I'm doing like every time the same comparison. So book index, yeah, book index, book index. So yeah, this is the correct way. Now, if I do the same thing here, why I change it? Because here you're taking a book ID to be equal, right? So else it would be a difficult. Now, if I change it like this, now it's fine. Book index is like this. Enumerate will give the index along with your function. I'm taking that book index. With that book index, I'm taking. So if the book index is none, so initially, so there is nothing. If you have something, then you're gonna delete the book index. How do you remove the book index? So remove a specific book index means you can like this also you can do, or you can delete also, right? So I would do like so delete, so books of book index. If I do like this also I delete. So you see, just because like we changed it from a inbuilt cache to this one, things changed a lot. In the same way, we need to implement it. So if I say like Python space app.py, it will execute and it will have the application run and ready. So now you can try testing this application, how it is working, if it is working correctly or not. So next we will work on the database, how to connect to the database and how to store and what are the different databases. Maybe for the same application, we will go for different databases and then we'll proceed further with another applications. So I want to stop here.